Hello and welcome, and thank you everyone for coming to join us. And we have a very special program for you today. I have with me Hemant, the friendly atheist,
Hi.
Alisa Schrock, Momma Atheist, Cynthia McDonald, Robert Reed, and Junkshop Library. And today we are going to be discussing, why does your vote matter? Does your vote matter? Should you vote? And I think these are really important questions to answer because I hear so many people saying that they are not voting for one reason or another. So before we jump into the topic, I do want to let everyone have a chance to just do some brief introductions because this is Hemant's first time on my show, and this is Robert Reed's first time on my show, and this is Elisa's first time on my show. So I've got three new guests today. So let's start out with some introductions. Hemant, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Hemant Mehta. I write at friendlyatheist.com. You can find me on YouTube at Friendly Atheist as well. And I've been active in like the atheist movement, several organizations. Now I'm just kind of working on my own. I write about like current events and news and all that fun stuff. So yeah, thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Robert.
Oh, wow. I'm second.
Yeah, you're second because you're one of the new people.
All right, fair enough. My name is Robert Reed. I think like the last time, I'm pretty much the rookie in the whole atheist thing. So I'm glad to be a part of this group. I'm on Gonna Go For It's channel. I've got my own channel about mental health, Stronger, with Robert Reed. And I'm basically here to drop some fucking bombs tonight. This ought to be fun. Let's do it.
Okay. And Alisa, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Alisa. I am an old friend from school of Granny's son, Robin. So we used to be friends in high school, and then we've kind of...
Even elementary school.
Yeah, I meant elementary school, that's right. That was around the time when you guys moved, and we're kind of getting back together. It's really fun. I'm very glad to be here.
Okay, Momma.
Oh, me. Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm a climate scientist. That's about it.
There we go. She's here to drop bombs too.
I have a channel and do stuff, talk about secular stuff and climate science.
Cynthia.
Hello, everyone. I am fairly new to the atheist circuit as far as like YouTube is concerned. I write a blog called ADOShealthandwellness.com. It is about the social determinants of health that affect Black Americans that descend from chattel slavery. I am also a half host of a socio-political show called The 13% that airs on YFNA News channel on YouTube and Facebook. And also I am general secretary of an organization called ADOS Chicago. ADOS stands for American Descendants of Slavery. And it is a political activist group that is working on initiatives and also other legislation to make the lives of Black folk better in the United States and also in our local areas. And we push for local equity in the municipalities and statewide, and we also push for national reparations on the federal level. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming. Junk Shop.
All right, let's see if I've still got that terrible echo. Am I okay?
You sound like there's a fish tank there. It's some kind of
His house is covered in fish tanks. It's more fish than people. Way more fish than people.
Okay, well, I'll just speak up briefly and then mute myself. I'm Junkshop. I run the Junkshop Library YouTube channel where we talk about the Bible from a atheist humanist perspective. We're working our way through from cover to cover over the course of the last 18 months. Oh, wow. And I also host Mental Health Thursdays where we talk about various mental health related topics, strangely enough, on Thursdays. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. And if thank you to everyone in the chat that has come, and thank you to everyone who is viewing this in the future. Links for everybody, all of the guests, their Twitter links, if they have a YouTube channel, their YouTube links, all of those links are in the description. So if you would like to get in touch with anybody that is on the panel, just go to the description and you can find links to them. First of all, I want to show you my shirt. I am wearing my Get Out and Vote Dump Trump 2020 shirt.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking.
Nice.
That reminds me, my neighbor in my neighborhood has a flag at her house, and it says anyone but Trump 2020.
My son left the house with his "Fuck Your Rebel Flag" T-shirt. So.
Oh, I need one of those.
That's right.
I need one of those. Are you serious?
I like it.
Absolutely get you one.
Okay, starting with the topic at hand, I'd like to give everyone a chance to give their answer to the question of why should people vote and does their vote matter? And Hemant, let's go ahead and start with you. What are your thoughts on that question? I
mean, yes, vote. Speaking to this audience, this crowd of like atheists, a couple things you should probably know. I think based on 2016 election results, like 25% of the country of the voting public were not religious, but we were only 15% of the voting population. It's totally the other way around when you come to like white evangelicals. They're a shrinking part of the American population, but damn, they all vote and they're really good at it. So if you care about just any issue related to atheism, church-state separation, and stuff like that, we're the ones that are performing under our weight, and that's bad. In terms of like direct questions about why should you vote, if you're watching a channel like this and you're watching all of us in a panel, you probably care about some stuff that relates to atheism, whether it's science education, like listening to scientists, climate change, church-state separation, legal battles that involve church-state separation, sanity, random stuff. If you care about any of that stuff, to me, there's only one candidate on the ballot for that. So that to me is why this stuff matters, because all of us, the sort of people who do stuff on YouTube and write about stuff like this, we like complaining about, we don't like it, but we do it. We write about this stuff. We talk about why it's important. This is the way you make it change. And it's not just Biden, by the way, but it's everyone lower on the ballot too. So, man, I hope everyone's not just voting for Biden, but like everyone lower in the election. And by the way, Granny, you mentioned like some people are just not voting. I have heard this from some progressive people too. Like, I'm not voting. I don't love Biden. Biden was like my 9th choice in the Democratic primary. I wanted Warren. I would have settled for, I think I ended up voting for Sanders because he was still on the ballot in Illinois when I voted. But again, Biden doesn't have to be the most progressive person. He just has to be a sane person. And you could fill the ranks with other progressive people and keep moving stuff to the left. That's, to me, is what's important. Who replaces Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Who, all that stuff matters. That's why I want people to vote. And I think it's just so selfish to say, I have the ability to vote. I could vote, but Biden isn't perfect enough for me. No one's ever perfect. And by the way, if you say that, go run. You should run. No one's ever going to be perfect for you unless you run for office. So like, if you're not, go vote for the next closest thing, because not everyone has the ability to survive 4 more years of this shit.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Agreed.
Okay, Cynthia, what are your thoughts?
Okay. So, should you vote? Yes. Now, I may have a less popular opinion concerning this particular election than the majority of the panel, only because as far as like the choice that we have at the top of the ticket for the executive branch, I feel is abysmal. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of the policies and the records that the Democratic Party well, not the Democratic Party per se. Well, yeah, them too. But as far as like, you know, who the nominees are as far as like for president and vice president, I am still going to vote. I'm still going to show up. Me personally, I'm voting down ballot. And the reason being is because I can't, I don't see nor have Biden nor Harris even really spoken to the needs of the Black community. And especially since we are in a very racially charged atmosphere right now. And there has not been really a serious conversation about how race has really affected this nation and how it's really tearing it apart. And the thing about it is that on the Trump side, we have, you know, very much so. I actually sat through a good part of the Republican National Convention. Yes, I am a sadist. We know this, okay? But I did. I sat through it. And the reason being is because I wanted to hear what they had to say.
Plenty of Pepto?
Well, let's say mostly wine. I had a lot of wine. Okay. You know, my red kept me through. My Cabernet Sauvignon was really on standpoint, and then I followed up with some Pinot Grigio. But anywho, regardless of that, one of the things that I did see, and I think I tweeted this out, is that I saw a lot of Black men speakers at the RNC. And one of the things that I noticed, especially when it comes to the DNC, is a lot of pandering to Black women, but not so much speaking to Black men. And I saw that the Republican National Convention was really much so trying to do like a flip of that, you know, still not offering any solutions. Matter of fact, you know, I almost lost my lunch when I heard Nikki Haley say that racism doesn't exist in America. I was like, Houseway, are you seeing the same things I'm seeing? I don't understand. I don't understand that. So I'm still hoping, and it was kind of funny. Like I was actually speaking to a person that was reaching out, trying to like, you know, galvanize for votes, and asking, you know, can we count on you to vote Harris and Biden? And I was very forthright with the person to say, you know, until I hear a robust Black agenda and really talking to the issues concerning Black Americans, I cannot give them my vote. Now, between now and November, we got some time. And I even sent them a couple of websites for them to take a look at as far as like what that looks like as far as like an agenda is concerned. That's very specific. We'll see what happens. I know that as far as like down the ticket, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, Hemant, because I think that, you know, a lot of times when we are looking at elections, we're so focused on the presidency that we forget about Congress. And, you know, to be honest, if we had a real Congress that had a spine, they would be giving Donald Trump for real hell right now. And the reason being is because there's so many different powers that Congress actually holds. And I'll just give you an example. If any person is familiar with the 14th Amendment, the 14th Amendment is basically what gave citizenship if you were born in the United States. And it comes with a bunch of different other things too. But one of the things that happened is when that particular amendment came up for a vote, it was ratified by Congress, sent to the president. At the time, it was Andrew Johnson, and he vetoed it. It was sent back to Congress, and Congress overruled the veto, and it became law.
God damn.
So we have to understand that there are so many things to really be focused on. I mean, do you all even know who's running in your local elections? Do you even know what your representatives on the federal level are even pushing for? Are they just, saying, oh, I'm just for this particular platform, or I'm for this particular platform? I mean, like, these are all things that I really would hope that people would take the time to really vet candidates. And that's from the top on down. Because what the representatives do, and even what happens in your local elections, very much so affect your life. So yes, show up, but be an educated voter.
Yep.
And that's what I have to say about that.
There it is.
Before we get to the next guest on the panel, Cynthia, you said something that really is, the biggest chord that strikes with me. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to bring out in this stream is I live in Alabama. Who I vote for president isn't going to mean a hill of beans because Trump is going to win Alabama. There just aren't enough Democrats here. However, the Senate seat here is a huge deal.
Come on.
Because Doug Jones is currently the senator from Alabama and he is up for re-election, and he's running against Tommy Tuberville.
Yes.
Tuberville.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
And Tuberville's only qualification for office is he was a football coach.
Yep.
And Tuberville's only platform is I love Trump.
Yep.
And I keep posting repeatedly on his Twitter page, if Trump goes down and you elect Tuberville, you're going to get a puppet with no master. And I think that the Alabama Senate race is one of the most important races on the ballot. And I'm trying to convince even Republicans in Alabama that Tuberville just doesn't have the qualifications to be a senator.
Just like the governor of Georgia is the same thing. He is not qualified. He's just a fucking Trump puppet. Mm-hmm. That's who he is.
And that's what he wants. Idea. Every time I hear Trump talk, pardon me, and with especially when we're talking about how we're handling Corona, when he goes down the list of states that he thinks are doing bang up jobs, and you look at the governors from the state, you realize these are all people who are doing nothing but juggling Trump's nutsack. And so, I mean, just pick the state. And when he says they're doing a great job, it's just a guy sitting there like, oh, Trump, you're the best. They're not necessarily doing a great job. They're just that part of that group of sycophants that aren't going to sit here and tell him you're fucking up. Right. And I sent a tweet about this a couple of days ago when I saw Laura. Is it Laura Trump? I think it's one of the sister-in-laws. Yeah. And it was like, Laura, you wouldn't run a football team like this. A good football team has a head coach, and underneath that head coach is about 12 assistants who will tell that head coach, okay, what you're thinking about doing is incredibly fucked up. And if you do that, we're going to lose the game. Good assistants challenge the head coach. They make the head coach think. When your senior advisors all have the same last name, that's a fucking problem. When the people that you're praising aren't the people that are challenging you, they're the people that are sucking you off. That's a problem. So he's just going to sit there and file the ranks of people who are going to do nothing but be sycophants. We need somebody who's not afraid to be told you're fucking up and not take it personally like a third grade boy who just got whipped by his daddy for eating cookies. We need someone who's willing to take criticism. And as usual, hold on, I'm fucking shit up. I always agree with Ms. McDonald. It's not this. If you cut a weed off above the ground, in 2 weeks, you've got the same fucking weed. If you don't pull it from the roots, you're what are you doing? She's absolutely right. Yes, it's easy to target Trump. You want to sit here and pick on what Biden's done to pass? I can make a laundry list right fucking now on the 99 reasons why I would punch him in his fucking kneecaps. That's not the issue. It's who is in your state, who is in your who. Those are the people that are going to make the difference. It's not the head coach we're worried about. It's the assistants. It's the graduate assistants. It's everyone underneath him or her who's going to push this person.
Can I?
That's the bottom line.
McConnell is so dangerous. That's why
I want to.
We have to get rid of that fucker.
Trump.
I want
Right.
to. Can I go back to something Cynthia said? She said yes to the down ballot races and all that, and I can't speak to Biden, what he has done or hasn't done on race. I'm not black. I don't feel like I can speak to that. But there are a lot of issues I care about that I feel like that campaign hasn't really addressed for me. But I want to go back to, you said you may not vote for him, not that you're voting for Trump, that you may not vote for the president. You may vote for down ballot races or something. That's what I'm trying to make sense of. Because to me, again, withholding your vote for Biden because he hasn't addressed your personal issue. And again, it's race. It's not just your issue. It's a lot of people's issue. But because he's not perfect on something that matters to you, like Robert was saying, there's a laundry list of stuff I don't like about what they haven't done, what I want them to do. But to me, the idea is they're not just Trump. This would apply to any other year in the recent memory too. The other option is so awful at the issues that we are talking about. What's the downside of electing the only other option on the ballot and pushing for more change from the bottom up, which is what even you're saying, the down ballot races matter. Why not say, okay, fine, I am going to convince everyone I can to vote for Biden because that's what we got right now. I'm going to work my ass off to primary the hell out of the next Democratic candidate, whoever it is. Like many of us here anyway, like not my first choice, but now he's the option. I do not understand the progressive thinking that says Biden's not perfect for me on my issues because he's not. Therefore, I'm going to punish the only option on the ballot, which, by the way, would hurt all of us because we care about these issues. I don't understand that logic.
So I would say that this comes from knowing the record that Biden and Kamala hold as far as like when they held office. And they had very abysmal records when it comes to how the policies that they championed affected a whole community.
Totally with you here. I mean, the crime bill was bad for Biden. So, Kamala was the DA who punished people who shouldn't have been punished. I'm 100% with you there. But think about the people they have to surround themselves with in the administration, the people they could appoint to be attorney general who would carry out some of these policies. Like, you think about the progressive push that is in their party and in that direction. What I'm trying to make sense of is if you don't like those two candidates and you have good reason not to like those two candidates, I don't see them surrounding themselves with ideological clones. So to me, the issues that you were talking about, I feel are going to get better compared to them. And it's only going to get better if we're electing better congresspeople, state representatives.
So I will address that, but I kind of wanted to let the other people kind of introduce.
Yeah, I'll mute myself too. I want to hear from them too.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we'll go through that in the discussion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Junkshop, what are your thoughts?
Okay. Vote.
That's mine.
Damn it. I mean, when the entire question is, does my vote matter? Somewhere down the ballot, it does. You may be like Granny or me, who's a tiny little blue dot in a big fuck-off mess of red. And so in the grand scheme of things, it won't make any difference. But if you're voting for school council or something of that nature, you've got a disproportionately larger impact, especially given that people on the left have a problem getting off their ass and going out to vote. And it's not that our way of life as Americans is in jeopardy. Our way of life as Americans stands on the brink of extinction, as does the world. The entire planet is boiling itself alive due to entirely preventable shit. Everything that is happening right now that's bad could have been solved if people had voted for qualified people all along the line. So vote. It's what? How long are you going to wait in line? 7 hours, if you end up at a really shit polling place, 7 hours out of your life at the possible balanced against 4 more years of the shit show we've got going on in Washington and in our state capitals now. Burn those 7 hours. Do it. Last time I waited in line for not more than 15 minutes. I got lucky. But some people are not going to be so lucky, especially if you're in a low-income polling place. Because we know the Republicans have been closing down polling places, disproportionately those populated by people of color and people below the poverty line, for years now, and at an accelerated rate. But everything is in danger right now. Reproductive rights for all people with uteruses, queer rights for queer folks of every stripe. We've got enormous problems with the wage gap, with the race gap. We've got the epidemic of police violence, primarily, again, against people of color. The only thing the man on the street can do to affect any of this is either run for office or vote for the people who are. And as somebody who has no intention of running for office, I'm going to vote. Yep. You should vote too, goddammit.
Okay, very good. I like the passion.
So do I.
All right, Momma Atheist, what are your thoughts? Before you start, Alisa, I am saving you for last for a reason, and I'll get to it when Mama's done. Okay, go ahead.
I don't want to get into too much of what the reasons I want to vote. I think the question at hand is just, does your vote matter? And I mean, Granny, you mentioned you're in Alabama, so your vote for president won't matter. But here in Georgia and places like Texas, their reds are starting to shift. So it really does matter. And I don't want to step out of line here, being a white girl and everything, but considering how hard the GOP is trying to suppress people like Robert and Cynthia's votes, fuck yeah, everybody's vote counts. We need to all vote and vote with the voices that we have. It does matter. So, too much voter suppression there. The fact that they have to cheat in order to win just goes to show that what their agenda is just wrong. And we need to stand up and say, no, this is what we need for our country. And we're gonna stand behind that. So
agreed.
Alisa, I saved you for last because you are the first-time voter and you are the representative of the young voters. And what are your thoughts about voting?
Well, I'm honestly I actually really like talking about politics sometimes and listening to conversations about it, but I actually don't care that much about politics. I don't know how to explain that. But I mean, I'm kind of naive, and I just kind of think I don't really understand a lot of what goes on in the government and stuff. So I don't know, some dude will get elected and I won't really care. I don't know. I know it does technically directly affect me, but since I don't know.
If I can ask something to Alisa, which is, if you're not entirely familiar with all the goings on, the machinations of the government and stuff, I assume you do have friends, family, obviously people on this panel who do care a lot about probably the same issues you're interested in. So even if you don't necessarily care about it, and it's not just for you, it's for anyone who may be thinking the same way, which is that they are relying on you to help them out.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, I totally, this is something I've tried to convince a lot of other people too, which is I know too many people who have lives and jobs and way bigger shit to worry about than politics, as opposed to some of us who are obsessed with it constantly. And what I kind of want to I totally want to shake them out of their system and be like, okay, I need you to do this for me because this stuff makes a difference and you don't have to understand it all. But if you care about me, I need you to vote this way because that makes a difference. And I hope anyone in that position, there's so many things going on that is hard to follow. There's so much BS out there in the media too. But if you care about anyone you're listening to on this panel, yes, but friends who care about this stuff too, who definitely have opinions, even the crazy people on Facebook who have opinions about this stuff. If you trust them, listen to them. Sometimes I do this for down ballot races too, which is I am not necessarily familiar with what the city council people are running on, because I'm not paying attention to that as much as I am national politics or something like that. But there are groups, there are like progressive groups in my community that do pay attention to that stuff. And so before voting, I will definitely check in and see who are they endorsing, who are they supporting, because on those ballots where it's like, I don't know who these people are, maybe I'll vote for the Democrat in the race because that's what I typically do. But I will go to like in the primary, I definitely went to those groups or people I trust and just said like, all right, who do you need me to vote for? I'll do it for you because I don't have any stake in this fight.
Yeah, because I agree that your vote definitely does matter, because like every vote would add up. So I agree that my vote would matter and everyone's vote matters, and I probably am gonna vote. One thing I actually wanted to ask about, I was thinking about this last night. Well, I was watching Granny's stream from like a week ago or so about voting for Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And like toward the end of the video, it was the atheist pastor, right, who said he's not going to vote for Trump or Biden. He's going to vote third party.
That was actually Grumpy Old Jake, because atheist pastor was in Australia.
Okay.
Australian, so.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. That makes sense.
That's okay.
No, I don't.
Oh man, I'm dumb. But
there are no Republicans that are voting third party. They're all sticking together.
Yeah.
So when the people on the left vote third party, they're giving our votes to Trump.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry. I know that's not a popular thing to say, but it's true.
No, I understand that.
That's what a lot of people actually say. Like, okay, well, like if you're voting third party, or if you're doing like myself, like I said, like I'm, blanking out the top of the ballot and just going down the ballot, you're giving your votes to Trump. And the thing about it is, and I kind of wanted to, if you all don't mind, wanted to just kind of address, what Hemant said about, not really understanding, what is so logical about, or even pragmatic about, not dealing with the top of the ticket, especially knowing the choices that we have. And one of the things that, and I've said this a lot on different shows, I love talking about history. I'm a huge fan of history. And I think that, and the reason being is because when you look at history and different events, you kind of see when things were addressed and when things weren't addressed, and how it affects your today, right? And one of the things that is very interesting, even when you're looking at the DNC, is that you saw a flip of progressive type, liberals going from Republican to Democrat and vice versa, roughly around the time that the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was signed. Actually, it was a lot of Democrats, Dixiecrats, like from the South, that were extremely upset, that that particular piece of legislation was signed. And then so a lot of them flipped, and then and a big backlash, and also you saw a lot of pandering in the Richard Nixon administration. If you all get a chance, look up the Southern Strategy and how they really went after those particular voters to actually bring in Nixon. And Nixon did, when Nixon got into office, he offered more of an economic plan as far as like Black America was concerned. But it was more so to placate them from being more involved in politics. And what ended up happening is that you did see some piecemeal assemblance in the Black community to get into business and even to get into better jobs and things of that nature. A lot of them ended up even getting into government jobs to give them some access to the middle class. But we saw a lot of that eroding away as time goes on, especially when we get into Reagan and Reaganomics. And even you saw a lot of erosion happen under Clinton. Even you saw a lot of erosion happen under Obama. And the thing about it is that Black Americans have been very loyal as far as voting Democratic for the past almost 60 years. I was looking at the how the vote went in 2016, and Black Americans voted Democratic more than any group. It was like 90%. It was like 95, 96% Black women and like 81% Black men went to Hillary. But the problem is that we oftentimes see a lot of pandering for the Black vote, but never addressing the issues that deal with Black Americans every day. That's very consequential. It was a report that came out last year. It was written about it in Forbes, Black Enterprise, The Guardian, about how Black Americans are slated to be a zero wealth by 2053. And we're about 228 years behind as far as the medium white wealth is now. It would take us 228 years to catch up for what it is now. And no one is addressing that. And the thing about it is that when you talk economics specifically in the United States, you have to have some semblance of wealth to be American. You have to. You can't do nothing in the United States without wealth. You just can't.
This is true.
And the thing about it is that there are very specific policies and legislation and government rule that have plagued Black America for centuries. However, we never really, we get yeah, that happened, but we're gonna do something else. And even Biden and Harris, when they asked, like, what is your primary focus for the first 100 days when you get into office? They said DACA. And I'm like, okay, but again, this is a very racially charged atmosphere that we're dealing with right now. But your plan is DACA. Okay. Now,
but voting rights was the HR 1 that they passed in this Congress.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's fine. And that's why I said, like, you know, for me, as far as like the DNC platform, which make more sense to me as far as like how I'm voting, more than likely, especially when it comes to Congress, it will be Democratic. But depending on who, and I'm in Illinois, I know it's gonna go blue, you know. But at the same time, it's got to be a point where one of the things is like, yes, voting matters. But you also have to understand that voting is an exchange. It is not a gift. And it has to be.
Can I say something real quick, Cynthia?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just feel like, I feel like when people say stuff like that, like, I know my state is going to be red, or I know my state is going to be blue. Mm-hmm. That's a problem, because that makes people think, oh, I'm blue. It's going to be blue anyway. I don't need to vote.
No, I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that at all.
I know you're not saying that at all.
I mean, like, no, I'm just saying that as far as like trends go, and you know, this is a progressive. I'm like, it's mostly like a progressive like type state. So more than likely, it will go blue. No, that should never be the reason why people should stay at home, because they kind of figure that, hey, I'm over here, it's gonna go this way, and we already know that there are going to be states like, you know, Georgia is turning purple. Florida oftentimes is purple. Michigan, Ohio, those particular states, they have a tendency to flip-flop. We saw one thing happen in, I would say 8 years ago, and then you see something else that happened in another time period. So, you know, anytime any state can flip from one party to another, you know, and a lot of times it really just depends on who's on the ballot. I'm just saying, like, historically, that's how Illinois, you know, goes.
You're saying if Illinois, and I'm there too, I'm in Illinois, but if you're saying if it was a purple state or if it was a swing state, that would make you what? Then you would vote Biden because of whatever the stuff.
No. Oh, okay. What I'm saying is that I'm less about voting blue no matter who, or voting red and because you're going to be dead type stuff. I am more an agenda driven constituent. That's where my mind is. And the reason I am is because of the very real issues that we are dealing with right now that have been very much so present in America for a very long time that we never addressed. We never addressed race. We never address unfair housing, not for real. We never address any of those particular things that even affect how certain people, how one group of people live and how another group doesn't live. We never did that. And even you can check out, like when yesterday on the 13%, we talked about the Kerner Commission. And the Kerner Commission actually talked about in the 60s, a lot of the race riots that was happening, that people would say, oh, there was just some bad actors. And that's the reason why we were having rioting and looting and things of that nature. And I was like, no, it's because of racism and policies that were actually put down from the federal government on down that have been very oppressive to people. And they were actually, and they were fighting against that. And they met, and what they're basically what they were saying is that it would take a mass government amount of spending in order to actually change the lives of these people that are in very depressed communities. And so what they ended up doing was shifting money to go to the moon. That's what happened. America decided to go to the moon instead of fixing race. So now we are here. And a lot of the things that we have seen in the past are repeating themselves. And even though, like, I am an atheist and I am very much so very glad to be an atheist, I will quote the Bible when it says, there's no new thing under the sun.
Can I defend NASA?
Yeah, I knew you would let him jump in on that one.
Again, listen, wait, hold on, Amanda, before you go. Listen, let me tell you something. I love science. I believe climate change is very real. All those things matter to me. I mean, like, if we don't deal with the planet, we all live on it. It has to be something that has to be addressed. I don't have a problem with that. And I also believe in, and pushing innovation as far as like science goes. I believe in listening to science. Anytime that somebody even brings something to me, the first thing I say, has that been peer reviewed? I always say that. Okay. But at the same time, we in America have a tendency to kind of, when we're dealing with very hard topics like this, we have a tendency to, instead of dealing with it, to shift our attention somewhere else. And even when Biden was asked about very specific policies when that actually dealt with Black Americans, oftentimes either when he was even asked about his Lift Every Voice plan, which is supposed to be his African American agenda, he didn't even know about it. When he was asked about reparations, he said, well, he sidestepped that whole thing instead of actually addressing it, and said, if I'm talking about reparations, I got to talk about Native Americans too. And yes, you should, but Native Americans should be speaking about in their particular terms as far as like what is dealing with them, as far as like their issues are. It's not the same thing. And my issue is with these particular things, it's never something that's actually addressed to the point where we are in a very divided area right now. And one of the things that I really, really wish, and like I said, I'm holding hope. I got some hope now, that I'm hoping that if there's more voices like myself and other political commentators who are actually talking about these things, that the DNC actually pays attention and say, hey, we need to address this, instead of actually just using piecemeal policy to deal with it. Because if we don't, we have a really big chance of actually losing the White House in the fall.
Mama, I know you really have some thoughts, but Hemant needs to go in just a minute.
I know Hemant has to leave, but can I just put my 2 cents in?
Okay.
The person who worked for NASA, I'm not trying to, say that what was put aside wasn't important, but there was a lot more to the moon landing than just us getting to the moon. Is what I'm saying. It had to do with superpowers in the world and stuff. It wasn't just about us getting there. Wanted to say that as the NASA chair. And that's it. Hemant, I know you have to leave, so I'm sorry.
So let's let you have some closing thoughts. You're muted.
Sorry, y'all. No, I appreciate being part of this. Cynthia, I hear everything you're saying, so I thank you for adding that in. It's a lot for me to think about, so I'll think about that. Thank you. No, I would just urge anyone watching this, take it seriously, vote. If you're not sure what to do, find out in the next month. Well, I think what would piss me off more than anything is for people who might have voted for president in a swing state or for down ballot people in races where those votes matter, for those people to sit it out because they either didn't get their shit together in time to vote, early vote, or if you didn't know what was on the ballot, go talk to people who do, because there's a lot of people who care about this stuff. So listen, if you're interested in watching this sort of YouTube channel or any of us doing any of the stuff we do, you care about this stuff. At the very least, you care about these types of issues. And I'm telling you, as someone who has written about atheism and politics and that intersection for more than a decade, there is only one side that cares about any of this stuff. They never do all the stuff I want them to do, but Joe Biden and the Democratic Party are the only party that care about church-state separation. Republicans are very much, if not a theocracy, they're about as close as you could legally get to it. And they only seem to care about evangelical Christians, much less any other religious people. So to me, this is not even a question of who I should vote for. I think the work that I want to do is get sane people in the White House to begin with, but then do whatever I can to push those down ballot races, local races, to be as far to the left as I can humanly make them from my capacity. And I would also do this. I made a video about this on my channel too. You could watch that. But any of you who are young enough and you have the passion about this stuff, you should seriously consider running, not necessarily for Congress or anything, but I think the statistic is like there are more than 500,000 elected offices in the United States. 99% of them are local races that like no one ever cares about. And I'm watching these Massachusetts results come in right now. And if you look at the state representatives, state senators, most of those primaries, people are unopposed. Like the incumbents running and like, that's it. Now go down to like city council, county council, all that stuff. People don't know who's on the ballot. What I'm getting at is people don't pay attention to those races, which means if you care about it and you invest a little bit of time, not even necessarily money, but you have the passion for it, you can win those seats. And being an atheist will not hold you back from that sort of a race. So seriously, consider it. I plead with you, please do it. And thank you to everyone here. Thank you, Godless Granny, for having me on. I will
Thank
see
you
all
so
nice
much
to meet
for
you.
coming.
You too,
Yes.
guys. I hope
Nice
to
to
join
meet
you again soon.
Thank you. Okay, Mama, I'm going to let you finish your thought. And then, Robert, you haven't had much of an
Mama.
opportunity to talk.
Oh, let's hear Mama. Shit.
No, I was just that was all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Was that it was more complicated than just like, oh, let's really put a person on the moon. That wasn't. I just needed to say that.
Wasn't
That's all.
it like
Robert.
the space race and stuff, or
Yes,
Okay.
the Great Space. It started
Yeah,
with
it was
Sputnik. They put Sputnik up
Yeah.
first. It was all about having world domination. We had to be in
Yeah.
a so-called pole position, and we were, because we were the only ones that got men on the moon.
yeah,
Yeah.
Robert?
It was
Yeah.
us, it was us kind of just sticking, pulling our dick out and throwing it on the table to Russia.
Oh yeah, it was once like I said, we are America. Let's go.
I mean, it had its purpose. It wasn't just. But I'm not.
Yeah,
like, I'm
no,
not
I was,
saying that.
and I was saying, and I wasn't saying the things I was saying to just be flippant. You know, I understood that there was a lot of different implications that actually go into the moon, especially when it came to the space race and actually who is going to be on top. Is it going to be the USSR or is it going to be America? And we also know at that particular time, history, that, that was also very much so the time period of the Red Scare, the McCarthy inquiries and all that great stuff that was going on at that particular time. So yeah, all those particular things were part of that implication as well. My whole thing was just saying is that instead even that going on, we had this going, and it never was addressed. That was the point that I was making.
Okay, Robert, your thoughts.
My big thing is just get off your ass and vote. If you ask me, does your vote matter? The answer for me is fuck yeah. Of course it does. Like I said, if you cut that weed off at the top, in 2 weeks, you've got a brand new goddamn weed. You got to get it down at the bottom. You got to get it in the soil. You got to get it at its roots. So I've been a lifelong independent. My big thing is get educated on who's running, get educated on what they stand for. If you were to, and this is my dad's philosophy, because he's an independent. If you were to take the red or the blue out, if you were to take the elephant or the donkey out, if you didn't know if that person squatted or stood to pee, if you just read what they stood for, who would you vote for? Fuck everything else. Fuck everything else. And my big thing is it's also reclaiming the vocabulary. Because if you ask me, there's a certain portion of the population, conservatives, that they've got this trick that they play, and that they'll take certain words out of the vernacular, they'll mutate it, throw it back in, and you'll say one of their trip words, and next thing you know, you're guilty of what they have defined it as. It's like, oh, when I was a kid, offended simply meant you hurt my feelings. I've got feelings. They can be hurt. And you're like, oh, what? Were you offended? And like, yeah, he called me a nigger 19 times. I'm kind of pissed off about that. Right. And it's one of the words they've taken out is patriot. Patriot means something totally different now. Like I saw a video, I think her name was Michelle Malkin. I can't remember her name. And it was a video of a high school class saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone was saying it. There was one kid who sat in silent protest. He didn't call attention to himself. He sat in silent protest. And I lie to you not, there was a kid in jack boots, cut off blue jean shorts, had a flannel shirt wrapped around his waist, had an American flag t-shirt. He kicked the chair out from underneath the kid who was doing a silent protest. And you could hear him on the audio saying, "We stand for the pledge in this class." She tweeted out, "We should pray for that patriot." Patriot has a new definition now. Mm-hmm. And if patriot means storming the Michigan Capitol with a gun the size of my fucking thigh, holding a Barbie doll that resembles the governor with a noose around her neck, those people were called patriots. If you ask me, I'm not a military, but I'm a military kid. The soldier's oath says you are to defend the Constitution of the United States. Not a song, not a piece of cloth that you think has some fucking magical powers. It's the Constitution. And part of that Constitution defends your right for silent protest, and it defends your right to fucking vote. Because I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 people in here when they said go vote. There's 5 people minus Junkshop. We weren't allowed to vote. They had to write that shit in. Niggers couldn't vote. People with vaginas and uteruses couldn't vote. They had to write that shit in. So the troops that the other side pretends to love so much that they walk right over, because those vets that you see, they're homeless. And when they're begging for money with their signs and you say, "Hey, bum, go get a job." Well, they had a job and it was defending your monkey ass because they were defending the Constitution. So I say let's reclaim the word patriot. They were protecting our right to exercise our constitutionally protected rights. And part of that is to get educated on the fucking topics. Who's your PTA president? You don't know. Fucking find out, and find out if that person is worthy of teaching your kids. Who's your governor? Who's your lieutenant governor? Who's the mayor? Who's on your city council? Who's your state representative? Who's in Senate? These are the things that fucking matter. And I'm going to rant a little bit because my brain's turning off because I just took my fucking crazy people pills, and I'll let you guys have the floor. But the bottom line is, get off your ass. There's this thing called the internet now. I don't know if people are aware of it. Really? There's nothing that you can ask Siri that she won't tell you within half a fucking second. If you want to know all the issues, you don't have to get a newspaper anymore. Ask this thing, and this thing will tell you everything you need to know. So I do agree with Miss McDonald when it's not this, it's everything else. It's who's sitting in the chair right fucking next to you, because that person's going to make the fucking difference. I can't stand Trump. I think he's a sack of shit. And you can talk about all the talking points about black unemployment. He didn't do that. The economy, all this other shit, they're talking points. Those are talking points. I will take Biden because I truly believe at this stage of the game, that is the one person who's willing to take criticism. Do I think Biden's good? No, I don't. But it's you're dealing with two piles of shit. One of them's diarrhea, one of them is solid. I'm going to take the solid pile of shit because I think the solid pile of shit will listen to everyone underneath. That's the thing. And one more thing before I close off. I remember asking someone at work to name the 3 branches of government. They couldn't do it. But then I turned around and asked this person about the Kardashian girls. They can name every person they were married to, the name of their kids, the name of their products. I'm like, that's the fucking problem. That's the problem right there. Because you can name the president, but you understand that the president, for the most part, is a figurehead. And one more rant about Trump, then I'll shut the fuck up. The problem with Trump, I'm going to keep going because my brain is slowing down, so I'm trying to outrace my brain. I just took Seroquel. And if those of you know what Seroquel is, if you're bipolar, oh, this shit is kicking in. The problem with Trump is Trump has always run Trump steak, Trump vodka, Trump. He's the CEO, and he's so used to everyone working for him. The president of the United States is a different kind of CEO. You are the HNIC when you're the president, but it's different because this is the one time the CEO is working for his employees. Hopefully one day I'll be alive to see her employees. But normally in the job, the CEO, you're working for the CEO. The president is the CEO, but he's working for his employees. That's Trump's problem. And that's why he's surrounded by a bunch of people who do nothing but juggle his nuts 24/7. He's a CEO that doesn't want to work for the people because he's used to running his own shit. Get off your ass. The troops that you claim to love so much, they fought for your right to get educated and vote. I've already told you I'm going to vote for. I hope you join the club. But if nothing else, though, again, those troops that you claim to love so much, they fought for your right to get off your fucking ass, get educated. I'm with Junkshop. If it takes 10 hours, you stand your ass in line for 10 hours, get a battery on the back of your phone, go on Twitter, do whatever you got to do to kill the time. Get your ass to that voting booth. If you want to know if your vote counts, the answer is always yes. And my crazy people pills are kicking in. I'm about to start talking about some stupid shit like the lint in my dryer and 1985 football. I gotta go at a form of mental self-defense. I'm gonna die. I love you guys. Miss McDonald's. Fuck, I'm so bad at it. Wait, there it is. Wait. Fucked it up. Miss McDonald, always a pleasure. Godless Granny, glad to be on your show. Junk Shop, great to meet you. Fuck me in the ass. All right, just Alisa, I'm pointing at you. Mom, I'm going to talk shit to you later when my crazy people pills are going nuts. I love you guys.
Love you, Robert, as always. Thank you.
Get that off my chest. Y'all are great.
Thank you for coming.
Of course. Bye.
Okay, Junk
Shucks,
Shop.
how are we going to top that?
I'll come up with something.
I should have warned you, Alisa, about the language on the channel.
Oh, that's okay.
It's probably a little different than what you're used to hearing.
That's all right.
Junkshop, what are your thoughts?
You should hear my 16-year. Okay, well, my 16-year-old is my 16-year-old, so he has my mouth, I guess. So I should just.
Alisa went to Christian school with Robin.
Yeah. No, sorry. I
So did I, Alisa. So did I.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that bad. I went to Catholic school, so we were worse.
I do want to say about my son, he is actually really into politics. He still kind of supports Yang. He loved a lot of his policies and stuff. But we actually watched the whole RNC together and just shit talked it the whole, like, it was fun for us to look at it. But it was so ridiculous, just like the identity politics. Like, let's throw all the people of color we can up on the screen and pretend we're not a bunch of racist assholes. Like, it was
so I remember, like, when Robert was just talking about, and then I'm going to shut up because I know the junk shop. You guys say your piece. When Robert was talking, and he was talking about using the word patriot, and that specifically is what they call dog whistle politics. And a lot of that was brought out with Lee Atwater when he really, like, pushed the Southern strategy. And because, like, remember when he was saying, and Lee Atwater said in an interview in the 1980s, he said, don't quote me on this, but, you know, you can't say nigger anymore. That'll get you in trouble. So instead of saying nigger, you're going to use other words like forced busing, patriot, what's some of the other dog whistle politics that they was using. I made a whole list, of just like all the dog whistle politics that was happening on the stage at the RNC. And, you know, and I invited other people to add to the dog whistle politics. I think the other one was school choice, family values. You know, these are all buzzwords that are used mainly by conservatives. And I want to even say that, you know, actually some conservative, you know, viewpoints aren't bad. But the thing about it is that all the stuff that comes with that is problematic, especially when you see, like, how those things are tied to how policy is wrought from different people who actually subscribe to that ideology. So, and that's what I wanted to say about that. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Junk shop.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna essentially repeat what I said before. I have heard some amazingly well-reasoned and beautifully crafted arguments here tonight, and that's not what I'm here for. Granny knows me well enough that she knows what she was doing when she brought me on. So vote, damn you. It is important. It does matter. And vote like your fucking life depends on it, because it goddamn well does. Because you know Trump likes to make these jokes about 8 more years, about maybe we should try a president for life. You know those are not jokes. The man is throwing up weather balloons to see who'll salute them. Vote. Vote now. Vote while you can.
He compared cops shooting unarmed black men in the back to fucking missing a 3-foot putt at golf the other day.
Yes.
What?
Did that shit.
Yes, he did.
What?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did that. Yeah, he did.
He was
And even the person who was interviewing him was a Fox News host, a regular that loves to shit all over the left. Even she had to pull him back and tell him it was kind of ridiculous what he was saying. She gave him the whole, well, you don't really mean that bullshit, trying to help him out. What she should have said is, you're full of shit, Mr. President, because that's really fucked up to say about people getting killed.
Then he would have told her that she was nasty.
Fox News. It was Fox
News.
News.
He would have. He would have
Yeah.
and told people that on Twitter, oh, she was on her period or some fucking shit.
Yeah, did he say that about what was the other person that was on Fox News?
That was in 16. Yeah, he said it
yeah.
about
the other blonde chick. What's her name? I forgot.
No, someone who left, wasn't it? I know who you're talking about. I just can't remember.
I'm looking at her face right now. I didn't like her neither, but he should have.
This has happened to. Every time it's either he calls like with Rosie O'Donnell and calling her disgusting and fat, or if they're a beautiful woman who talks back to him, well, she's on her period or whatever the hell he decides that day. It is disgusting, and I'm tired of it.
What is that lady's name?
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, look it up.
Okay.
Google, ask Google, see what see what they say. Anybody know? I don't know Google's pronouns, but whatever. Yeah, I'd be like, no, he's a nasty person. That's no lie. And he is a horrible president. No
Megyn Kelly. That's who it was.
Yes.
Megyn Kelly. Yeah, that's who it is.
Is no friend to our side. She's not. She's one of the blonde Barbies at Fox. You know.
Well, and she got fired. She got fired from her morning show because she was defending people who dressed in blackface.
I hate this fucking country sometimes. I really do.
Well,
so, okay, I take care of my parents. They watch Fox News constantly. It is always on. So I hear snippets of stuff. And I hear Tucker Carlson the other day actually arguing that kid who shot those protesters he was in the right. Of course it was going to come to this. And teenage kids were going to feel the need to protect property. He fucking drove like 200 miles.
He called him a patriot.
Oh my God, he is.
He said he was maintaining.
It really is.
Yeah, he was maintaining order. He's a patriot and he should be protected.
Really quick, can someone give me like a rundown of what happened? Because I only like vaguely heard about something that happened. I didn't know.
So basically what happened, and are you familiar with the shooting that happened with Jacob Blake? Okay.
No, I've heard like names and headlines, but I haven't actually heard about the story.
I'm going to do my best to give you I'm going to do my best to give you like the short version. So basically last week, I want to say last Sunday, there was a black man named Jacob Blake that was shot 7 times in the back by a police officer in Kenosha. What basically happened is that police were called to respond to a domestic altercation. Domestic disturbance. Some of the reports that were actually coming out was that Jacob Blake was actually breaking up a fight. And when he was breaking up a fight, he walked away when the cops arrived. The cops told him to stop and he didn't. Now, I don't know if he had heard him or not, but he was walking away from them. He had 3 children, his 3 small children in the car. One of them was his son's birthday that day. When he got to the car, the cop pulled, the whole time the cop was following him. And then when Jacob got to the car, he pulled on his shirt and then shot him 7 times. Now, there was some different reports saying that, he looked like he had a knife, but he didn't. Some say that, you really couldn't play the whole arm thing because he wasn't armed, nor there was no gun in the car. So this basically started more protest, in Kenosha specifically. And Kenosha has Wisconsin period has a very sordid history with racism, institutional racism specifically, especially with so many jails in that state, but that's another thing. Now, what ended up happening afterwards is when there was looting and rioting as far as like Kenosha that night when that whole story broke, the people were actually going to like government buildings and throwing chairs at them, and then you had to call in police, and they were bringing out riot gear. It was a mess. Now, as the protests were going on, they lasted for a few days. The 17-year-old named Kyle Rittenhouse decided to ask his mother to take him to Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is, and he lives in Antioch, Illinois. It's like a 30-minute drive, but he had her take him to the epicenter of the protest because he wanted to help protect businesses. That's what he said. And he was even interviewed saying that, oh, I'm here to protect businesses and offering some type of EMT help because I'm I'm trained EMT. Whole time he holding an AR-15. Okay. Now he ended up getting into a kerfuffle with one of the protesters and ended up shooting them. Then he ran away because other people were saying, hey, he just shot a person. He just shot a person. So he was being chased by a couple other protesters. And then when they ran up on him as they were trying to take his gun, he ended up shooting another person. He shot 2 more people, killing one, and then also injuring another. Now, he came up to, I believe that he actually was like by police who ended up just shooing him away, even offered him water and all this other stuff. And he ended up going back to Antioch like it was nothing. He ended up getting arrested, and now he's being charged. I don't know if he was charged yet. I believe he was. I think he was charged with murder.
He also was captured front row center at one of Trump's rallies.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and also too, and he has a very sordid past too, because as far as like, you know, his run-ins with the law, and I'm still tripping that a 17-year-old was actually permitted by their parent to even own an AR-15. I don't understand that, but that's a whole nother thing. Somebody needs to call DCFS about that. But yeah, that's basically what happened.
He was 17?
Yes, he's 17.
What is this kid, like Batman? Why is it his business to try to protect some other state?
Yeah, I think he is, but I can't even, because Batman don't have guns. He does.
The thing was too that this happened, that he came in and shot these people the night after the there was a portion of the RNC where those 2 that couple that came out of their house with their gun pointing it at Black Lives Matter protesters. The night before, they came on talking about how we need to protect ourselves and how important this was. Then the next day, he goes and does this. Was there a connection? Who fucking knows? But this is the narrative that they're pushing, that this is the end of the world, that you know, property means more than people. We need to protect our property, and these people are just anarchists. But what the fuck are we supposed to do else right now? Because nobody is listening and nobody's doing a goddamn thing.
And the golf remark came about when the reporter asked Trump if he would condemn Rittenhouse for what he had done, and she didn't use the word condemn, but basically, basically speak against. I can't remember the word. And his response was, well, I think the officer that shot Blake choked. And it was so completely off topic. It kind of threw the reporter for a loop for a moment. And then he says, well, I think the whole thing was just a mistake. The police officer just choked like you would in a golf tournament and missing the putt.
7 times in the back is a choke.
Yeah, we have too many incidences of police officers and vigilantes choking.
Well, and I thought the choice of the word choke, when it all started with the death of George Floyd being choked, was an extremely poor choice of words.
Yeah.
And I think the reporter picked up on that and tried to get him to retract the word choke, but he didn't get how awful it was that that's what he said.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that George Floyd was just like as I mentioned previously, he was just the straw that broke the camel's back.
Exactly.
That's all it was. I mean, because before that it was Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky, and then before that it was Ahmaud Arbery in your state, Momma Atheist.
I did a video on it. I was so pissed. I just it broke my heart, the Ahmaud Arbery thing, because it wasn't even cops. It was just assholes that thought they had the right to do what they did, and it fucked up.
And this is one of the reasons why I talk so much. I've been doing this whole step, even like on my show and just coming on other streams about talking about our severe issue that we have in this country about race. You know, and because like, here's the thing, because even, and I'm just going to be honest, if we don't really get a president, even if it's Biden or Kamala, or Harris, as far as like the vice president's concerned, to really deal with these issues, it's going to happen again. I mean, you see all the deaths that happened under Obama.
Yeah.
And then before then, and before then, and before them. And, you know, we talked about, like, you know, police reform and community policing, and there's a lot of cities that actually practice community policing. Yes, thank you. However, even those particular initiatives are only piecemeal. They don't go far enough. You know, now, and I'm not, and as far as like, you know, the whole defunding police, I think I don't necessarily have a problem with shifting funding as far as like, you know, to offer wraparound services. Police are important. We need them. But at the same time, you know, even police reform at this particular time is just not enough. We need an entire, complete, not only just conversation, but initiatives on how we deal with these institutions that are deeply ingrained in the fabric of America.
Yeah. You don't know how to move forward. You really don't.
Okay, we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes now, so I'm going to let everyone give some closing thoughts. And after we do closing thoughts, I'll let everyone have a chance to shill for themselves. And then I'm going to set up an after party and give everyone about 10, 15 minutes to go get a drink, take a potty break. And anyone who would like to be in the after party, send me a DM on Twitter. And I will send you a link to the after party, and we'll just have a time to hang out and talk about whatever anybody wants to talk about. So first, closing remarks, and Junk Shop. Let's start with you.
All right. Well, I said it before. I'll say it again. Vote. Damn you.
My closing remarks. So.
Just do it. Just vote. It is so crucial and so important, and it's more important right now than it has been in a long time, because we will not survive 4 more years of this administration. We will not survive it as a country, and we may not survive it as a species. So, but whoever you think
he's fucking with all the environmental laws.
To be in that White House. But vote.
Cynthia.
Be an educated voter. Be part of the process. And also know that advocacy doesn't just start or stop in the voting booth. I love it even when Hemant was saying, you know what, if these particular issues bother you, think about running. You know, join other advocacy groups that actually align with your values. And don't be afraid to, you know, make your particular voice known about things that you care about. And vet any candidate that comes to you and say, I want your vote. Voting is an exchange. It is not a gift. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Okay, Mama.
Same as you know, learn what's going on, be educated about it, but vote. But you know, you have a voice. We all have a voice. We need to use it.
Okay, Alisa.
Well, actually, I don't know if I have a closing statement yet, as much as like a closing question.
Okay, go for it.
There was something I was thinking about yesterday. And I was trying to get to this earlier, but I don't know if we trailed off or something. I was wondering, like, I know that technically, you know, every vote matters because it'll all add up and everything. But I'm wondering, it almost feels like a paradox because, like, if my vote really matters, then why can't I vote third party? That was one thing I was thinking about last night was third-party votes, because everyone basically says, well, don't vote third party because they're never going to win, and then that just means like you're giving your vote to Trump. Well, I kind of, and I know like in principle, that's kind of true, because not a lot of people vote third party, but I feel like we need to change it so that we don't keep telling people don't vote third party because they're never going to win. Because if we keep telling people, and especially young voters like me, that third party doesn't have a chance, then I don't think they ever will have a chance. And I know there's more to it than that. Like, they don't get as much media coverage and stuff, so that's another reason they like never win. But I don't know. You were gonna say something?
I think you make a very good point, and that's something I've been thinking about for some time, is that we really do need more than two political parties.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of the reason why the third parties can't win is because of the funding system. The way that the Republicans and the Democrats are funded, a third party candidate is incapable of raising the kind of funds that those two parties are capable of raising. It's why Bernie Sanders runs as a Democrat, because he actually doesn't even consider himself a Democrat and has never even joined the Democratic Party, which is part of the reason why he's had a little bit of trouble getting the Democratic Party to nominate him and take him seriously as their candidate, because he doesn't really consider himself a Democrat. He considers himself a social democrat, which is kind of something just slightly different. Yeah, but if he ran on a social democratic ticket, he wouldn't stand a chance because he just couldn't get the funding.
It's really complicated, Alisa. I'd love to answer, talk to you more about it if you wanted to, but it's more than just nobody's going to vote, so they'll never get the vote. Our country is pretty much built on a two-party system. It's what we know, and things would have to change substantially to be able to get that to work. And for now, as it is, the GOP is sticking together no matter what. It's when people vote third party right now, it's only from the left, and so therefore that's how it's giving away votes to Trump, unfortunately.
Yeah, I understand.
Can I just say something to what you were saying, Alisa?
Yeah, sure.
I think I agree with Goddess Granny. As far as like you definitely bring up a very good point. And especially like when we are constantly having these particular discussions about, like, when Robert said, I got two piles of shit. It's either loose shit or hard shit. What shit am I going to ingest, right? And as much as like how like that whole two-party system is so ingrained in, how our politics work in the United States. One of the things that and this may be a little bit anarchist of me to say, but hey, I don't mind. If you actually had more people breaking away from the two-party system, and then you find out why, that may cause the two-party system to realign what is causing either this particular party to lose in this particular area or this particular party to lose in this particular area. So I mean, like, I would definitely, I wouldn't push against you, and I sure wouldn't give you shit if you decide to vote third party, and I can understand it completely why, but make sure you do vote, even if it is in that particular vein. And I would love to talk to you about it a little bit more. I'm Cam Glamming on Twitter if you want to go ahead and DM me. All right.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, give people a little chance to show for themselves. Alisa, I know you don't have a channel, but is there something that you would like to support, or something that you'd like to just have people shout out for?
Well, you can find my link to Twitter in the description, right? So if you want to, you could, I think in my Twitter bio, there's a link to my DeviantArt page, and I post fan art of this obscure video game that I'm obsessed with. So if you want to check out some goofy cartoons, you can give them a look. Otherwise, I don't really am that much on the internet.
Okay, very good. Mama, what do you have coming up?
Always on Dave's. On Thursday, Math Pig's open mic, we're talking about trans issues. We have a lot of really awesome people coming on for that. And this weekend, I probably have Holy Kool-Aid on my show on Sunday. Just haven't figured out a time yet.
Very good. Junk Shop.
I do improv Bible study on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. That's my flagship creation on the channel. We go through the Bible from an atheist perspective and have entirely too much fun and use too much
Smiting.
Hopefully some more smiting soon. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been an absolute joy.
And Cynthia, what do you have going on?
So again, half host of the 13% on YFNA News. We generally stream live on Mondays at 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. And then, you know, when they change it, it'll be Central Standard Time. Also, I write also the blog ADOShealthandwellness.com. Make sure you check that out. I have some really fantastic articles on there that I curated and wrote, you know, so, and I'm very proud of them. And then, I'll follow me on Twitter. I'm at Cam Glamming, and IG on at Cam Glamming, and on Facebook I'm Cam Speaks. And so, yeah, all the links are below. And I enjoyed having this conversation. I enjoyed all of you on the panel. I enjoyed the chat. Hey, all y'all that I know in the chat, y'all are great. And thank you again for even having this conversation, Granny. I so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for coming. And what I have coming up, I've got a video in the works called "Was I Ever Really a Christian?" At least that might not be the actual title. I'm still working on the title, but that's going to be the subject matter of it. And it kind of comes as a result of some things some people have been saying to me on Twitter. Next week, I will also have a rather interesting panel. It's going to be half Christians and half atheists, and we are going to discuss, is there benefit to being a believer? And it's going to be at a different time. We're going to do it Monday evening at 7 instead of Tuesday because Nervardia is going to be there. And Tuesday at this time is not good for Nervardia. Oh, am I overlapping you, Mama?
No, I forgot some shit that I'm doing tomorrow. I feel like an asshole. I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
when you're done.
Let me finish, and you go ahead and show that too. We've got all night. So anyway, yeah, and Godless Engineer is going to be there as well. And so it should be a good discussion as to whether or not there is any benefit to being a believer. Okay, back to you, Mama. What did you have?
Sorry, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, I'm on Nervardia's. We're talking about some climate science issue in the Great Barrier Reef. And then tomorrow evening, couldn't tell you what time it is at the moment, but I'm on Brainbug's channel. We're talking to PZ Myers about the anti-science community. That's it. Sorry, I totally forgot about all the shit I was doing
No
tomorrow.
problem. No problem. So thank you so much to my guests. This has been a wonderful discussion. It has been very enlightening. I have learned quite a bit. You probably guessed that the reason I asked Alisa in is that she not only is a young voter, but she is very intelligent. She asks very good questions. And I have seen some of her comments on Twitter, and I could tell that she would add a great deal to this discussion. And I thank so much the people from the chat that have come. The family, B is here, Inquisitive Quandary, Vesta Freya, as I mentioned in the chat, Vesta was one of my very first subscribers ever. Yeah, Vesta's been with me for the long haul. Atheist Donna is here, Never Again. Let's see, that's all I can see at the moment. But yeah, there.
The Lone Wanderer.
Oh, the Lone Wanderer is here. I'm sure Mathpig is in there. I know Robin is in there somewhere. So thank you all for coming. I am going to set up an after party. As I said, send me a DM if you would like an invitation to the after party, and we'll just kind of hang out and talk about whatever we want to talk about. So thank you for everyone for coming, and
Yeah.
bye.
Thank you. Live your life.
Oh, thank you. Live your life.